Well, motherfucker.
Just talking for 2 minutes about actual business shit that I don't remember what the fuck I was talking about. I may or may not have forgotten to turn off Discord. May or may not forget to do that a lot. Anyway, I gotta make sure my fucking headphones are charging. God damn. Rach, I had these fucking plugged in the whole time I was in Taco Bell and I didn't charge at all. But I don't need them. I no longer need them. I need this one. Ta-da. Okay. Just a second. All right, we're going to read chapter 3 of I Dream of Lemuria. I already know this is a long chapter. I already know I've been putting it off. It's fucking 3 a.m. It's 2:30. I'm usually doing this just after midnight. We've been pushing it to 1. I don't like these books, so it's hard for me to get excited to come here and do this. Just to be honest with you. I haven't made any money at this yet. So it's hard to get excited. But I got Eric and I got Rach. I know Rach is dialed in. I'm sure the other two of you were dialed in as well. Let me pick the Taco Bell out of my teeth real quick because it's going to distract me. I will try to pause as we're going. But I think I've demonstrated that this is junk. If you're coming here for hard sci fi, you're not going to find it. Or I was talking with Muff Cabbage. I was talking with Patreon subscriber, so producer now, Mac and Fly. And he was kind of talking about why he likes Star Trek. He was watching it today. He was sharing that. He was kind of saying that he likes Star Trek because it's a quotable show. If you like sci fi for the quotations, you are not going to find them here. We're not exactly here to lampoon this. This is Spoopyween. This is the closest thing I'm going to get to celebrating Halloween. And so I'm showing you what freaks me out. And what frightens me isn't the details of the book, it isn't the content of the book, it's not the words of the book, it's not the end times paranoia of the book. What freaks me out about this book is that people like modern neo Nazis, the UFO crowd, and the alternate historian crowd, they all think this is real. And so, like, their critical thinking is totally busted. And I read this stuff that freaks me out to practice my critical thinking. And so I feel like I have pretty definitively busted this as something that we uh, need to distance ourselves from believing. But I'll try to take time to see if there are questions, comments on what's going on. Try. This is a long chapter, and I am also trying to get through this. We are 14% of the way through this book. That means 1 7. All right. Chapter 4 of I Remember Lemuria by Dick S. Shaver. Subchapter Escape into Space. Accustomed as I had become to variform life, we presented a strange, almost fearsome appearing company to my eyes as we made our way toward the shuttle ship station. There was young Halfdan, of Venusian blood, long-legged, web-footed, and fingered, his eyes huge and faceted, his mate, a girl of Mu, except that some forebear had given the line 4 arms, probably under the stimulus of mutation rays because the family pursuit of making instruments was one where twice the number of fingers could well be used. Horton, a young fellow of mixed bloods, older than the rest of us, quiet but long-eared and sharp-nosed. A listening fox, his girl, a thin, gray, transparent-skinned maid of Mars, fragile and lovely, her large, leaf-green eyes lighting devoted friendship wherever they rested. 2 young Titan sisters, their horns just sprouting from under their curls, their great bodies new budding into womanhood. Their 2 escorts of the elder's special creation, large-headed youths of tremendous intelligence, their hands double length, their necks and shoulders by far stronger than normal to carry their great heads easily. And finally, a young Titan male, accompanied by his friends, who was accompanied by his friend, who was a distant cousin of my own Arl, and whose sprightly, colorful femininity hinted that Arl's family must be especially noted for their beauty. Did I miss Jazz? Oh, no, I don't think that's the same sports fan. Together we made up a company of 12 life forms of great diversity, and yet all of us citizens of Atlan. Citizens apparently on an outing, now bound for a gay adventure to end a holiday's festivities in the supreme thrill, a sightseeing trip into space. We dared not think of our true purpose, and I knew that at least the 2 elder escorts were aware of what had brewed in my mind and would back me up when the time came. We thought only of our coming adventure and tried to feel the delight of it, so that even our emotions would register true to any spying teleray that sought us out to check on our motives. The shuttle ship we boarded was a small bullet-shaped plane containing little but a cabin, air-making equipment, and a small fuel compartment in the rear. Just real quick, checking in on our critical thinking. Why the fuck is this person, Mutan Mio, describing things in the idiom that a 20th century person would? Why is he not consistently describing them in the way that a person in this world would if he remembers this? He's ducking in and out of the kind of shorthand that a modern author who's writing science fiction would use. Anyway, the bullet-shaped spaceship is also a UFO type. Even though this is a year, this was published a year after Roswell. This plane was not a spaceship, but only a sort of bullet to be shot from the surface of Mu to the large station ship of great weight which circled in its own orbit, just as the moon circles the Earth forever. So it's a bullet-shaped ship that's not a ship, but a bullet. So why isn't it just called a bullet ship? We got on the bullet ship. Whatever. To get the shuttle ship on its way, gravity was neutralized by an upward beam of semi-penetrative force traveling at light speed, which was turned on gradually until the car just floated in its cradle under the that happened under the effect of the reverse friction to gravity of the force blast passing through the car. All of that is nonsense. Everything he just said is nonsense. It sounds sciencey, but it's all nonsense. By an upward beam of semi-penetrative force doesn't mean anything. Penetrative force? Whatever. When the weight of the car was thus reduced to less than a pound, I turned on the rocket blast very gradually and traveled up the reverse gravity beam by instrument. I just me, Shaggy P, Vinny D. I struggle with caring that there's a difference in mass and weight, and that weight is mass in gravity. But fuck, that description pisses me off, actually. He says that this semi-penetrative upward beam of force travels at light speed for some reason. It is a big difference. I do understand that. Mass v weight. I do understand that, sort of. But this traveling at light speed was turned on gradually until the car just floats in its cradle under the effect of the reverse friction to gravity. None of this means anything. None of this describes reality in any kind of way, even a pseudoscientific, pseudo-physical. None of this means anything. Reverse friction of gravity would not lift the thing up. If you could friction gravity, which doesn't make sense, gravity is friction. If you could unfrict something from gravity, it doesn't mean anything. You can't do that. The force blast passing through the car. But then he says when the weight of the car was thus reduced. Like he's trying to explain to us how the weight of the car is being reduced so these rockets can be more efficient. But the rockets are moving the mass, not the weight. E equals mc squared is mass, not weight. You gain weight by increasing your velocity. It's all crazy talk. It's a stupid person who's trying to humble brag that he knows the difference in mass and weight. That's why I opened by saying, I don't know that I know the difference. I don't know that I care that there is a difference. Because this humble brag of knowing that there is a difference pisses me off. That's not how velocity works. That's not how escape velocity works. It's not how escape velocity works. You don't turn off the planet's gravity in a cone and then just like move at whatever speed you feel like to the moon. That's not how that works. And it just kind of pisses me off that I'm still reading this. But I'm moving on. In 30 minutes, we were circling the huge station ship as though we were in our turn. We were in our turn, its satellite, just as it was a satellite of Earth. No, if you are circling the huge station ship, you are its satellite. There is no as though. That's the description of us. That's what a satellite is. With Vernier rocket blasts about the size of toy pistol explosions. Again, why the 1940s metaphor? This is actually a 1940s analogy. Why? Because he knows that his audience won't know what he's describing if he says some random war tech from this place. But that's how he would describe it, because he's writing a book for those people. The nearly weightless plane approached a landing. Above us spread the world we had just left, making an imposing sight as we settled into a cradle atop the space station. And yeah, That's what sci-fi is for, to get you to imagine the the Earth rise. Have you seen that photo, Earthrise, that was taken from the moon? Uh, Armstrong and Co. They took a photo of the Earth rising over the horizon of the moon, and it's beautiful. And so that's the only good thing he's written so far, is that they took the time. That he didn't even have the characters take the time. The narrator just describes that that is what was happening. That it's the closest thing he's written to good prose is describing the Earth being over the horizon of the moon when you're on the moon, being able to see that. But he just says that we could see it. Nobody stops and looks at it. That pisses me off. When we stepped from the shuttle ship at the edge of the oval landing area, we saw several globe-bodied moon men bustling about their own type of shuttle plane, a long wingless splinter constructed of a very fragile and glass-like substance. And I hate this. The women, the female species or female characters, he describes in detail. What the fuck does it mean to be globe-bodied? Although I feared to think upon it, the moon was my next destination. I fucking hate this character. One thing that all of us knew was that we never intended to return to Earth. Now he has that lowercase e. So does he mean the ground? Because now you're on a moon, which ostensibly has Earth, ground. Or does he mean the planet Earth? Because he's been implying this whole time that this is way the fuck away. He's been implying that this is way the fuck out in space, some imaginary planet billions of light years away. And hey, opium. It's just a bad writer, is what it is. Leave it alone, Vincent. The blackened face of that son of the Titans, the noblest blood in Taeon City, as he lay dying on the dance floor, rose before me to tell me flight was not only best, but the only course for us. What? In spite of myself, my eyes roved over the black dome of space, searching for the lights that might indicate a pursuing craft. It seemed almost impossible that we were fooling the mad Rhodite and their spying telepath rays. In spite of all self-imposed mental guards, my mind seemed intent on shrieking, "Escape! Escape!" through every possible loophole in my concentration. God, this is dumb. I engaged the gnome-like moonmen. Gnome-like? Again, we're reading this to show how stupid Graham Hancock is. I engaged the gnome-like moonmen in conversation in an attempt to still further blanket my turbulent mind. And while we're thinking about it, just contextualize how stupid Joe Rogan is, that he is taken with how smart Graham Hancock is, and Graham Hancock thinks this shit's real. Gnome-like. Fuck does that mean? Especially because this is before the establishment of the fantasy trope of the Wizards of the Coast gnome that we all agree is what gnomes look like, unless they look like lawn gnomes. Moving on. Arl, his fawn monster girl, caught my eye. God damn it. And wagged her tail in cheerful encouragement, seeming to divine what was on my mind. He means divine, but whatever. Maybe I'm wrong about that. How expressive that beautiful tale of hers was, how much it could say, and with no dangerous thought waves to betray its meaning to those who must not receive on their sensitive instruments. With that tale, no language, no thought transference was needed. Really? You don't think that dogs think, I'm going to wag my tail? But even if pursuit developed, he just realized that, oh, she's expressing an emotion. Emotions are expressed in thought. Our enemy can sense our thoughts from anywhere in the world, but a tail is instinct. God, he's so dumb. He's so dumb. But even if pursuit doubled or developed like a 30-minute photograph, 2-hour pursuit, you can get your pursuit developed in 2 hours. I had one trick up my sleeve. I dared not think of it, or watch, or some watching Rhodite informer might advise any pursuers of my plans, and a way to circumvent them would be devised. 1 hour pursuit development. It struck me that not all of the Rhodite might know of recent conditions and developments in Teon City. That's an that's an old timey joke, isn't it? Does anybody even remember 2 hour photo? Anyway, moving on. Nothing had been announced on the telescreen news. Thus, while we were escaping, others ought to know the truth. And certainly not all the Rhodite were disinfected. They would not report what they read in my mind. And the Rhodite who knew would not attach special significance to others who knew. And the very fact that it was thought about in an unguarded way might cause them to dismiss us as of immediate danger, and thus blanket our intent to escape. That paragraph is called being an insecure writer. So he knows the rules of the universe, but he also does not know the rules of suspense. So what you do in suspense, if you want to be a good storyteller, and we're here to critically read this so we can be better storytellers tomorrow. If you want to tell a good story, you have a metaphorical bomb or an allegorical bomb, right? And you let your audience know that's a bomb that you recognize as a bomb. And then you put your characters around it in a way that they are unaware of it, but your audience is aware that it is going to blow up any minute now. That's suspense. This is an author who knows the rules of his mind control bullshit, but cannot articulate it to his audience because he only tells. He only tells because he's using the first person perspective. And I'm going to tell you something right now, young storytellers, young writers. The first person perspective is the first choice of the truly amateur writer. First person is the most difficult person to write in because first person is your narrative experience. So he is occupying this first person narrative experience of his own, and he's imagining what it would be like if he had the first person experience of this person on Atlan from Mu, wherever. Okay? And then he thinks he's doing it so vividly that he remembers this experience. The problem is that he cannot articulate it worth shit, which means that he does not remember it, is an amateur, and absolutely should have picked a different person to write this in, a different narrative person in which to write this. Because writing it in the first person lends it the opposite of credibility. If you're reading this critically, that it is in first person is trying to cheat your suspensive disbelief mechanisms. This is trying to get inside your brain in a way that you will let it be real, so that, like a stupid person like Graham Hancock, you would believe this is real. This is not real. This is real bad. Real bad. That whole thing right there about what the telepathic people are going to do is the author telling you, do not think about these narrative avenues. They are not coming. That is the opposite of foreshadowing. This is bad in every way. which means Ray Palmer is a bad editor, terrible editor. Continuing, I thought of the dance, of the sudden striking. Why are we thinking back to a scene that's not even a chapter old? How much time does he think has elapsed for us, the reader? I appreciate that this was printed in a magazine, and so there might be days, weeks, months between these chapters in real time. But really, I thought of the dance. He even uses shorthand to bring us there. Why are we going into a fucking flashback scene during a fucking escape? Imagine if Star Wars, the escape from the Death Star, oh, it's torturous. That's why I'm doing anything but it. Imagine if the Death Star had a fucking flashback sequence. Imagine what that movie would have been like. Torturous is what that movie would have been like. The worst is I paid money for this. My money, not donor money. I thought of the dance, of the sudden striking of the Black Death on the dance floor. And of course, he calls it the Black Death because he needs the medieval Black Death, the bubonic plague, and other illnesses that were dropping Europe and the rest of the world dead. He needs that in his story too. Because everybody knew about the Black Death in the 1940s. And his concern is with world-ending calamities. And so in the 1940s, the most recent world-ending calamity was the flu, 1916 or whatever that was, God, I hate this. Okay. I thought of my puzzlement as to what it might mean. I thought of the disappearance of our tutor, Technicon. Wondered if he too were murdered. Any sub-Rhodite getting a register of my thoughts would certainly ponder the meaning of the unbelievable existence and center of murder. Existence in center mu of murder. Murder whose actuality he could not doubt, because it would come to him as the unguarded and therefore true thought of a roe such as I was. In double quick time, still acting out. See, this is him. All of this needs to be in notes to himself as he structures what this world is like. This is all world building notes that he's giving himself in real time as he structures a plot. This is bad. This is bad. You don't even show your girlfriend this, because this isn't even the first step. This is preparing for the first step to write a book. This is bad. In double quick time, still acting out our enthusiasm for an unexpected holiday. Okay, so this is the first time that he's mentioned that they're pretending to be on holiday, this group of people. We chartered a fast spaceship for an hour's time. An attendant led us to a cradle on the landing stage, and we entered the ship gaily. Why did he tell us that they did that? That they rented it for an hour's time? That's why they came here, is because the one was like, what if we just flew in the ship for an hour? The Speedster. Why is it named after a kind of car from the 1940s? rose slowly up the lifter beam under my control, and when it was clear of the station ship, I sent it hurtling outward. When we were well out of sight of the station ship and picking up speed toward the moon, I gave up thinking of our trip as a sightseeing outing, which was to proceed only a little way into space and then return. What the fuck are you talking about? Oh, right, because they're telepathic people. They have to pretend to think about their behavior. Ah, that's why. Because no, it's weird. It would be weird if 1984 wasn't published before this. 1948 is when 1984 was published, and it was written in 1947. That detail, the mind that that is just ripped right out of 1984. That's why I just had to pause and think for a second. I'm like, wait a minute, why this weird telepathy, thought control, pseudo drama, pseudo, what's it called when you've got well, suspense, pseudo suspense? Why the fuck this? Because 1984 was published this year. A good book was published this year, and Shaver read it. Clearly, Shaver read it, and he was like, "Oh, psychodrama. That's what I was looking for. The telepathic psychodrama. What's that about? Big Brother. It's Big Brother, but they can read your thoughts." Look, I do appreciate the escalation, that him trying to take the stakes of Big Brother and make it bigger or more invasive, more intrusive. I value that, and that's the end of that sentence. We're just gonna give him that and be done. Okay, so he stopped thinking of this as a sightseeing outing, which was to proceed only a little way into space and then return, but began to think of the moon as our destination, meanwhile setting the autopilot destination needle on Venus. Then I pulled the throttle back to full on. Here is where I do have to give him a little bit of credit. In 1948, the idea that your thoughts were less secure than the technology that you were stealing from a major corporation had not occurred to anyone yet. But stealing this vehicle and the vehicle not automatically reporting back to the corporation that you've changed the autopilot destination is the actual hardest thing to believe in this whole story so far. if if you got into a Tesla, right, you get into one of these self-driving cars in a major city right now, and you change the destination, what's going to happen is that the car is going to tell you to fuck off. So this you got to give him a little bit of credit on this one. He's like, they're hacking my thoughts, and I'm just going to steal this car. And I'm like, even if they're hacking your thoughts, you're not stealing that car. uh, but the proprietary nature of technology with corporations was obviously not the thing that it is today. So so if we're here to ease up on him a little bit, because I know I'm getting intense. If we're here to ease up a little bit, it's that at least people in the 1940s, or maybe predictably people in the 1940s, actually did not think that the coming corporate dystopia was actually coming. They really thought the threat to their lives was from higher intelligences outside the human normal, because it did not occur to them that their jobs, their employers, the companies from whom they buy their daily goods would be stealing from them, spying on them, and making it impossible for them to live lives outside of government surveillance. In the 1940s, the idea that Walmart, uh, Rolex, uh, Magnavox, that these companies would also be spying on you and selling your information so the government could prevent you from living a normal life free of government intervention was completely unthinkable to anyone. And so that he's not paranoid about that has made this completely quaint to me. This is quaint naivete from a 9-year-old boy just dreaming about what space would be like if he masturbated really hard. And it's tacky, but Jim and I was right. This is just pulp fiction. There's nothing here. There's nothing here to lampoon. There's not even anything here worth satisfyingly set on fire. I'm going to feel guilty if I go at it as hard as I was now, knowing that he couldn't even imagine that corporations were the real evil, thinking that a corporation would literally let you steal a spaceship this easily just makes him a boy. He's just a boy who really likes to read Harlan Ellison. And we are still reading this to lampoon not him, but the people who read him today and think this is real. Now I just feel bad. It is funny. It's funny that he really thinks that he can steal a car by thinking that he's taking it to the moon when really he's taking it to Venus. Like that he thinks that a government that could read your thoughts and make you age into dust like you just opened the Ark of the Covenant wouldn't also have Bluetooth technologies or computers that could communicate across distances. It's sad. It's sad how far off and how wrong he was about the coming future. But he did predict uh, George Lucas is a long time ago and a far time a long way away and a far away and a long time ago. Fuck, that really got me. He did predict that. So the trope that even a thing that I love, Star Trek or Star Wars, did begin in people like Shaver. Star Wars is the way we like it. You don't understand this, but Star Wars is what we like about it because George Lucas loved this pulp bullshit. So I'm going to ease up. I'm going to ease up because I don't need to defend you from this. This is bad. This is really bad. But we're not here to shit on this. This is just pulp. Okay. I switched on the electronically magnifying scope screen to the rear to look for possible pursuit. Hey, that's tech we actually do have. The scope had a screen of microscopic photocells which turned the tiniest little ray into an electrical impulse, which was greatly augmented by vacuum tubes, and the resulting impulse made a much larger cell on a viewplate glow strongly, giving a vivid image in halftone. Okay, well, that was all dumb, but basically, what we have cameras on the back of the car that speak to sensors or that speak to cameras in the front of the car so you can read them. And he needed to give it a hard sci-fi reason, but a lot of our technologies that we actually have today were first, the idea was first put in a human person's mind, or was first conceived of in a human person's mind for creative writing like this. So I'm glad this exists. Far behind us, a craft sped along. Was it in pursuit? I watched it for long minutes, but there was no way of telling. It maintained its distance and its course. In a very short time, their instruments could check our course, and if they were pursuing us, they would be unable to correlate it with my mental image of the moon as our destination. Oh boy. His space travel is moving at the speed of a car. He can't comprehend the velocities of space travel, the distances. The velocities required, the distances traveled, and they would be after us instantly. So he's literally looking out the back of this speeding spaceship, expecting to see hot pursuit gaining on them. If they were merely harmless travelers to Venus, there would be no questioning of our own course. I gave them time to check us with instruments, then I set the course pointer on Mercury, a planet almost never visited, and watched closely. The strange craft veered. They're on our trail, I said. The words broke a silence that had become almost intense. Almost intense. Arl's cousin looked shocked. It would be terrible. It would just be terrible if during this high speed escape from near certain extinction of this planet, it would be terrible if we were on the edge of our seat, that any of these characters was emotionally distraught or this was suspenseful at all. The danger level won't peak above a 2. Arl's cousin looked shocked. Then we can't escape, she said. They have a mechanical advantage over us. Wait a minute. The 2 women that speak in this have deer legs? One of the big heads was eyeing me shrewdly. And of course, the big heads are male, and the globe bodies are male. What the fuck? Big heads? These are placeholder names for when you come back and write the real book. He took the time to hyphenate it. Sorry. One of the big heads was eyeing me shrewdly. You have a plan? He said. It was a plain statement of fact, not a question. That's my least favorite sentence in creative writing, by the way. Every artist uses it. It's my least favorite sentence. That's why you put a period there. Yeah, I know. You said, you have a plan, comma, he said. It was a plain statement of fact. I know. You didn't put a question mark there. I'm reading this. I'm not remembering it in my brain. It was as though he did not ask. Fuck, man, you just said it was a plain statement of fact. It was as though he did not ask what was my plan, but expected me to put one into operation now that the crucial moment had come. Why is it as though he said that? He states you have a plan. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm doing this to you, and I'm sorry I'm not reading it. Yes, I agreed. Now is the time to play my one card. I hope that it will be an ace. I hate this. That would have been cool in a Western where our character's a gambler and he talks about cards a lot. But playing cards were invented in the Middle Ages. They're like, what the fuck are you talking about with this anachronism? It's 10,000 BCE or earlier. Playing cards won't be invented for 15 or 11,500 years. Fuck are you talking about? Your one ace. Sorry. We have not asked nor even wondered about your plan once we observed that you had one, said the other big head. But now the time for secrecy is at an end. It is unnecessary. If we cannot escape, our intent to do so will be useless to hide. If we can escape, our intent will not need to be hidden. It's good to know that they just have hydrocephaly and that they're not actually intelligent. True enough, and I will be more than glad to relieve my mind of the strain of withholding what is in it. I thought, never mind, he was an idiot to begin with, and then he took that potion with Arl, and I guess now he's a super fucking genius. I am but a row youth, and the task has been hard, he says. But one that you have done well, observed the young Titan gravely. I accepted the compliment with a thrill of pride. Praise from a Titan was something by which I was not accustomed. Indeed, old Arton Grow had many times given me exactly the opposite. It's a matter of mechanics, I said, and the one thing I will be forced to blank out of your mind as I do it. I warn you all not to think on the matter when you see it performed. As to my plan of escape, I have an even greater one. I will explain fully in a very short while. We will go to one of the sunless elder stations on a cold planet. The nearest of these is Quanto, on the very rim of this solar system. A good choice, approved the big heads, both of them at the same time. But one that rouses our curiosity in your mechanical trick to a high pitch. Obviously, you know that Quanto is 17 and 1/3 billion miles away. I could almost read their minds. Yes, weeks away at the speed of this ship, and we have no food. Even Arl's tail stopped wagging at that, but only momentarily. I swear to God, if Arl, if Arl were played, like if this were a movie and Arl would cast, Arl would be cast by somebody like Cardi B. And she would just be clapping her cheeks the whole fucking time. She'd just be standing there in a fucking thong, just clapping the cheeks together. The whole fucking scene. Who is this for? Your plan, she reminded me. Now we know you have a definite one. For if you are aware of the fact that we have no food, you must also be aware of a way to reach Quanto without it. Such great faith must be well placed, murmured one of the Titan maids. I, too, can have no fear now that you have a plan. I proceeded now about the thing I had in mind. There's not another quotation for a full page of text. He started to do a dialogue, and then he went, that's going to take too long. I proceeded now about the thing I had in mind, taking care not to think of what I was doing, but think rather of the appearance of my hands as they worked, of the movements of my knuckles, of the muscles that caused those movements, of the nerves that carried the messages to the muscles. He ellipsates out with a full period ellipses. It was a good thing for me now that I had listened so worshipfully to space pilots when I was younger. I'm glad you're introducing that character development now. Some of their adventures were going to stand me in good use. Autopilot mechanisms on these spaceships were adjusted to a foolproof speed so that no speed-mad citizen could wreck a shipload of people. There was a stiff spring on the throttle, just a little stronger than a man's arm. No fucking kidding me. It's mechanical. It's a mechanical failsafe. Wow. He couldn't imagine where computing power would be, even by 1950. Like this guy, this is the kind of person that can't imagine. This is the kind of person who would deny the moon landings, Richard Shaver. There was a stiff spring on the throttle, just a little stronger than a man's arm. Stronger than a man's arm? What does that mean? Which held the fuel flow to a safe max. Fuel flow? Oh my God. It's a mechanical throttle on this spaceship. Like a four-wheeler. Wow. I found the case. Whose arm? Stronger than, like, the bone in the arm? Or, like, an average man can't compress it? What does that mean? I found the case of the autopilot locked, and the key was naturally not aboard the ship, but kept by the attendant back at the satellite ship. But I found a way around that. I took the belts from several of my companions, in spite of their puzzled faces, and fastened them into one strong line. One end went around the throttle bar, and with another I took a turn around a seat arm. It's like 30 feet of belt. Why does he need so much belt? A dozen strong Atlan arms pulled the belt line taut at my bidding. and I took in all the slack at the seat arm. Back came the throttle bar. Oh, they got to depress the. They're trying to depress the spring. The acceleration of the ship spilled them all in a heap at the rear, but I held fast to the line and the bar swayed back. He's got like 7 or 8 people in this place with him. There are significantly more than just the 3 women. And he takes their belts and he ties them all together in a line. And he has a tug of war on this spring. And it doesn't slowly increase its speed as the spring depresses. No, it's this is dumb. This was dumb by 1950s tech. Their cars didn't work that poorly. This is a guy who doesn't even understand how cars work. This is fucking funny. Now, I don't know. I'm assuming that in space, just because of the way things work, that you're going one velocity and then suddenly the ship is going another velocity, which means that the floor beneath you is going at a greater velocity than you're going. You would get thrown back into the back wall. Rather, the back wall would suddenly just be where you were, and it would now be accelerating your velocity into space. That would happen. But why it didn't happen to him too is beyond my ability to understand. Oh, fuck. Now our safety depended on whether the pursuing crew knew this simple trick. What? For many of the pleasure craft, which our pursuer plainly was. Wow, the grammar here is bad. Which our pursuer plainly was, were as well powered as the police craft, although their autopilots restricted them to a much lower speed. If the pursuing craft's pilot did not think of adding other men's power to the strength of his own hand on the throttle bar, he would never overtake me. Even police craft were set to less than maximum motive power as the tubes burned out too quickly at full blast. Convenient that yours won't. That's not how traveling in space works. By the way, if the tubes burn out, you just can't. What? This guy does not fully understand how traveling in zero or low G works, and that's upsetting. I watched the dark speck on the rear screen anxiously, and slowly it grew smaller and smaller. When it had vanished, the youthful Titan pounded me on the back until my ears rang and my knees buckled. You're a sly fellow, and your whole plan of escape is right. It's high time we ran away from the Black Death. I've worried and waited for it to strike me long enough. It's been one day. Not even. It's been a few minutes. The Elder Station on the cold planet, are the best-natured men you can find in... What? Haven't been near a sun in centuries and don't know the meaning of the word evil. He turned to the others and continued speaking eagerly. They'll take us in. Give us entrance cards to any government in space. Personally, I would choose some civilization that warms its cities with its own fires, and shuns all suns entirely. I've had enough worry waiting for Atlan's rulers to get wise to the danger and move. I wanted no more of these sun-bitten zany darrow around me. I don't know what any of that means. I guess this is satisfying on second reading. The gray Martian maid spoke, her sensitive green eyes shining with admiration, her voice the slow singing speech of Mars. This is much longer of a paragraph than I am going to read, and slow or singing. The best thing you did was not to tell us what you had in mind, for someone would have read our minds as surely as Venus loves us. You're from Mars. We have lived in dread and indecision for many moons. The Black Death. Wait a minute. Why are they talking about our planets? Our solar system's planets, when this is decidedly not in our solar system. Anyway, we have lived in dread and indecision for many moons. The Black Death has struck day after day, and no official word of it. No one can tell who is dead. There is no way to tell if anything is being done about the danger or not, for anyone who made the slightest effort to do so disappeared at once, just as our loved teacher did. We all know that he was not ill, and we also all know that the day he made that announcement to us, he had signed his own death warrant. But he had evidently decided he must, as no one else seemed to move. It has been terrible, and if you had planned this flight with us, we would never have gotten away. We have been very lucky to get this far. Now, if you will take my advice, you will go at once far beyond any influence from Mother Muse Rhodite, under another space group of planets. And there we will learn how to live where such things as the Black Death do not exist. The smile she bestowed on me was Martian magic. Of course it was. It must have been the look on my face that prevented any further remarks by my companions, and caused them to look at me in new curiosity. If so, my next words fanned the flame of that curiosity. I spoke of a greater plan a few moments ago, Jesus fuck, and I am afraid it does not call for such conclusions as you two have made. I am sorry, but neither of you has given me any advice that I like, as sound as it may seem. Speak on, prodded one of the big heads, his eyes alight with interest. I checked our course briefly to make sure we were headed for Quanto correctly before I answered him. Then I made myself comfortable in a cushioned seat and faced them. Okay, so my imagination is a little bit different than yours. But because he hasn't described the inside of this seat, or the inside of this, I've just been kind of imagining like a standing caravan, or like, I don't know, a 1960s sci-fi movie set with like white, like a white pod, right? Just like white plastics everywhere, vaguely circular, or like bullet shaped, like he described it, right? With like a front and a back, and there's like a computer panel on the front, but it doesn't look like our computers. It doesn't really look like anything. Computer panel on the front. And then, like, during that section, he walked off camera and has now returned with a plush captain's couch to condescend to them from. Like, he's dragged it into the station from offset, put it down, and now he sat on it with like one leg crossed over the other and a glass of Chardonnay, because he's an asshole, not good wine. A glass of white, and he's swirling it in his fucking cape, and he's going, I bet you've all wondered why I've gathered you here today, haven't I? Yes. What a fucking asshole. Oh, it gets worse. It only gets worse. In a cushioned seat and faced them. Like, he takes the time. This guy asks him, you've taken us to certain death, and we have said, like, ships, like people on a ship would typically agree where they were going, even in the 40s. And this guy is going, Mwahaha, I have taken a potion, and now I, loser, because I am the protagonist of this story, have all the answers. And so you might recognize that I find this trope hilarious in parodies. That's why every time Neptunia speaks in Hyperdimension Neptunia, I laugh. Because she goes, I'm the main character. Everything will be fine for me. Through her own story. And it's hilarious. This is not hilarious. Anyway, he's got his glass of Chardonnay, and he's not even wearing a cape. He's just wearing an ascot that he flows around his shoulders like a cape because he's a fucking asshole. And he says, "What is it that we have been fleeing?" Like an asshole would do. And then the young Titan reflectively says, basically, an aging sun. The Black Death is merely a result of detrimental action on certain Rhodite who have become Darrow and even Ray. We have fled from them, but the real cause of our flight is the sun. We don't need to know. Hey, Hazel. Um, ahoy. Oh, this book is awful, Hazel. Um, we don't need to know what any of that means because we watched it, and this is like the fifth time he's felt the need to explain it. Do we flee as cowards, deserting our comrades? I ask softly. Or do we flee only that we may be able to make a new plan, to take the place of the one that has been interrupted by the Rhodite Darrow? Now remember, he's got this plan, but what he's been telling us his brain is screaming to him under keeping calm and zen is escape. And now he's saying that he's actually, under all of that, actually had this heroic tendency the whole time. There was a wry smile on the face of the big head, of the big head. There are two of them, but the big head. He's forgotten there are two of them. The day has come, he said, when I have seen a roe put a Titan to shame. Of course, Mutan, we did not flee for cowardice, but to gain time and life to put up a fight. It is only that we have not thought it out as you have, nor has inspiration as yet given us such a plan. Then listen to mine, I said. Just as it is with you, my first thoughts at realization of the fear that lay in Teon City were those of escape. Oh, he remembered that that's the only thing he's told us. He 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 retcons himself. He corrects himself as he continues. He corrects his mistakes. He'll make a mistake and then he'll correct it in a later paragraph, thinking that the mistake is negated by the correction when it's not. It's a natural reaction to be afraid and want to escape, especially if that possibility suddenly presents itself. Let us analyze the fear. First, the top unit of the force behind the Black Death must be a man in a very strong position. It couldn't be a woman. To stall off the whole migration, as has obviously been done, and to control things so that no news leaks out about the terror that is otherwise so plain for many to see, and that's the reasons that it couldn't have been a woman. It had to be a man because women wag their tails. So high and powerful must this man be that to fight against him on Mu itself must be to invite certain death. Perhaps even if we were to muster all clean-minded Atlans to the battle, we could meet only the same frustration as the migration plan has suffered. For is it not true that all Atlans who are aware of the danger of the sun's evil have made utmost effort to bring about the migration? Glad to hear you're feeling better, Hazel. True enough, said a Titan maid. No Titan has been unaware of the danger, and lately even such roe as you have been brought into the plan. Perhaps it is fitting that the salvation of that plan come from the mind of a roe. Wow. Then here is the only salvation I can see, I said. We must go to the elders of Quanto. Through them we must contact the mightiest of the Titans, and from them get advice and assistance. This thing may well become a space war before we're through, and as I see it, it must be so, or all the Atlans of Mu will be lost. Yeah, if it's not a space war before this thing is true, A, you haven't done anything to foreshadow an actual conflict coming later in the book, and B, there's no conflict coming later in the book. If there's no space war, why the fuck am I reading sci-fi? I looked at Arl to see if she listened, and she wagged her tail roguishly. Her only character trait is that she's got a nice ass. But it's a deer ass. Not only was she listening, she was thinking in tempo with me. At my glance, her voice chimed in, doing things to my spine. Yes, and we ourselves must devote ourselves to the task and go to a place where the growth rate is unlimited by law, so that we can become more equal to the job. It will take great power to displace the mad Rhodite. On Quanto, we must find some mighty and old and wise Technicon to go along and assure us of a hearing. Otherwise, the power will not be given us. We need the very mightiest power the elders of space can give us to save the people of Mu. If you but wag that tail of yours at them, Earl, they will give it to us. I laughed because I could see in all those around me the same conviction and devotion to my plan that was in her. The youthful company laughed too. Like, we agree that's sexual assault, right? Like, if you say that to a girl today, it's sexual assault. Of that there can be no doubt, they agreed. Whereupon Arl swished her tail before them and pirouetted about on her clicking hooves. Yeah, Arl is not a deer. She's a fawn, which means that she has girl parts and a deer bottom. She has a girl top half and a deer bottom half. And he just got everyone in there to say, "You're so attractive, anybody would give us anything if you gave sexual favors to them." Not a centaur. A centaur has a horse bottom, and it's only two deer legs. She doesn't have four deer legs. She has two deer legs. She's a fawn. Those are called fawns, my sweet, in Greek mythology. You also know of centaurs or horses and the four-legged, yeah, and they tend to be naked. You've heard of Pan or satyr. Satyr have the two goat legs. Fawns have deer legs. Thank you for asking questions. We are like 5 paragraphs from the end. Centaur World is a great show, and their rules of centaurs are a little different than Greek mythology. Centaur World's the best thing ever. But no, there aren't like deer tars. That's not how that works. Not actually, not in Greek mythology. And that's what he's borrowing from. Centaur World is so much better than this. Actually, just go watch Centaur World. So much better than this garbage. Centaur World's actually really cute. It was made by women, to women's sensibilities, and so there's a really funny mermaid joke. Centaur World is a it's an animated show on Netflix with 2 seasons. Um, I don't remember her name. I should remember her name because she's a Korean American mixed. I'm not sure. Yeah, there's 2 seasons. It's so good, so good. Um, but there's a hilarious merman joke. The llama winks. She's a llama tar. Uh, Wama winks is her name, and she's a llama centaur, and she's got this erotic fixation with mermen. And when they show you what a merman tar looks like, it's the funniest shit. Dumble, uh, 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 Durpleton is my favorite character. Do not spoil this, Hazel. Don't say anything about this show. His son, Durpleton's son, is the funniest shit I have ever seen. I laughed so fucking hard at the Comfortable Doug that I hide that I'm doing Comfortable Doug's because I can't do his accent. I am Comfortable Doug. He is that show is so good. That show's so good. I had on my base on Betty, I had the zebra tar. I had a sticker of the zebra tar on my base. That is one of my very favorite shows of all time. You should, Rach. It's fucking hysterical. The zebra tar is a gay fashionista, and it's the funniest shit in the world. I love it. I could not. I really. I could not hyperbolize how much I like that show. And then the Nothing King, I think is his name. The Nothing King truly terrified me. I really wanted that show to have 3 seasons. Um, they did her right by letting her know it was only going to be 2 seasons, so she could close it up in two. And the the uh, the 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 creative team, the writing and the writers and the voice actors, there was a lot of overlap in that team. The animators, the storyboard artists, they were really fucking cool. So one of the jokes in the show is that Wama Winks has this newsletter that she makes one of the other characters draw for. It's not a newsletter. Um, it's an erotica magazine that she has one of the other characters draw for her, and in house they started producing Centaur World erotica newsletters to pass around to joke on one another because it was a bunch of women artists, and so it just seemed like the coolest work environment. The the show is tight. The show is tight, very well written. Netflix animated shows, especially animated shows on Netflix, can get really loose in their writing because Netflix has all that money, and Netflix tends to tell you 2 seasons, maybe a third. But they didn't fuck around with Centaur World. They gave it 2 seasons, and it closes. It closes very well. It closes in a way that I would like them to open it back up. I haven't watched Octonauts. We are going to finish this now. I just wanted to take the time to distract myself from this piece of shit with Centaur World. Is totally worth it. And yeah, I like girls' stuff. It's significantly less violent than boys' stuff, and they don't mistreat the female characters. Continuing, we have 4 more paragraphs. I hear you, Hazel. I'm a little old, but I'm glad that you have a thing that you like. In that instant, the fear was gone from our minds. Instead, we were filled with gaiety and hope, and great determination to do all that lay in our power to end all fear. We circled Mercury, straightening out on a direct path for Quanto, constantly accelerating until it was unnecessary to explain why lack of food did not worry me. The young Titan remarked, "We will be at Quanto within 24 hours. Already our speed is approaching that of light." Uh, there's a period there, and then okay, they did have relativity, by the way, in 48. They had special relativity. So he should have known that this propulsion technique that he's using to approach the speed of light is impossible. I don't know why, but we were approaching the speed of light, period. And then there's a period like in the text, like the grammar punctuation mark. There's a period, and then there's a footnote, and then there's lowercase airlocks, just the 2 words airlocks, no initial caps, and then another period. I don't know what that means. I don't know why that's in the text. At last we were in the home of the kindly men from sunless Nor. So there's some there's just missing manuscript here. There's just missing manuscript. Oh, I understand, Hazel. The dot is called a full stop where you're at. That's interesting. We call it a period. So there's missing manuscript. He goes, "We were approaching the speed of light, full stop. The words, airlocks, another full stop. At last, we were in the home of the kindly men from sunless Nor." I don't know what that means. I legitimately don't know what just happened. But I'm glad that there's missing text because fuck, I can't wait for this to be over. I leaned back with a sigh of thankfulness, feeling that I had saved at least some of the good life seed of ancient Atlan from the madness that was overtaking all of its races under the aging sun. Now, a good author would immediately kill one of these characters because of that sentence. Can we anticipate that one of the characters on this ship is going to die immediately in the next chapter because he wrote that sentence? Absolutely the fuck not. This is not a good author. This is not a good author, not a good writer. Continuing though. To save still more would be a colossal effort. But as Arl's arms drew about my shoulders, I knew that such effort was worthwhile. Why? But why? Ostensibly, she would throw her arms around you at whatever destination you're going. She hasn't stopped wagging her tail for you since you introduced her. Why? In my mind, the answer to that is because Arl's not the only girl who's going to wag her tail for him across the course of this story, but also why does Arl's throwing her he's never described himself moving from this seat, and he's never described any of them taking a seat. So again, in my mind, we're in this bullet-shaped craft. He's got his ascot and his chardonnay, and he's sitting in a seat, and they're just arranged in front of him. And then she throws her arms around him. One last paragraph, and then I'm done with this dumb shit for the night. My phone is trying to update, so we gotta hurry. Hey, I'm back. My phone decided to update right in the middle. Baby, come back. You can blame it all on me. Baby, come back. Did the writer add 3 stars? God damn this update. Yes, I'm back. I believe. Baby, come back. That was a good callback to my other work and also a I like. So that was good. That was real good. And I've got one more paragraph of this. I do have one more paragraph. We will read it. But if she's still there, Hazel asked me a question that was about the work. Add 3 stars. Oh, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it done. And then in 10 minutes, I would normally be texting my girlfriend good morning. So I'm just a little bit behind schedule. Not bitching about my time management though. Feeling really good actually about my time management. I seem to have lost Hazel. So, our final paragraph. The purpose of life was plainer now. Such beauty and tenderness did not live in words or in paintings, only in understanding and caring for the life seed, the bearers of future race growth. Could a man find the true meaning of life? And in the mighty job that lay ahead in enlisting aid for the saving of our people from the black death of the mad rhodite, I knew I would become a man or die. Oh, wow, this is a really long footnote that I'm actually going to read. From 4721. I don't really know what that means because I don't have the same page numbers and I don't have the same annotation that the original printing did. But I'm going to read this. This is from our editor, Ray Palmer. Muten Mayan, apparently, holds no brief for the limit velocity of light, or that the speed of light is the ultimate speed. According to Mr. Shaver's letters on the subject, light speed is due to escape velocity of the sun, which is not large. This speed is a constant to our measurement because the friction of eggs, which fills all space, holds down any increase unless there is more impetus. The escape velocity of light from a vaster sun than ours is higher, but once again eggs slows the light speed down to its constant by friction, so that when it reaches the vicinity of our sun, no appreciable difference is to be noted. A body can travel at many times the egg's constant under additional impetus, such as rocket explosions. A ship whose weight is reduced. Here we go. Here we go. He's going to explain it. This thing that I said I don't want to know. And I volunteered for this and it's happening. God, why? Why am I the way I am? A ship whose weight is reduced to a very little by reverse gravity beam can attain a great speed with a very small rocket. That's why the weight needs to be reduced. Because he thinks you're moving the weight and not the mass. Once beyond the limits of matter, gravity ceases and the ship... No, I need to know why this footnote's so long. Once beyond the limits of matter, gravity ceases and the ship becomes weightless. What's the ship made of? If not matter. Speeds over that of eggs constant must be under constant impetus, for the friction slows them down quickly again, especially in the case of solids. Okay, he thinks there's friction in space. He thinks there's friction in space. Sound, as an example, travels through air at a constant speed. And yet the impetus is obviously different in each case. It's not, though. Sound waves don't come out of the thing at different velocities. No. They come out at different volumes. They come out at different frequencies. Fucking idiot. I'm so glad he used sound, because sound doesn't travel in a vacuum either. Oh, man. The only conclusion is that the air itself is the governing factor in the speed of sound, which always remains appreciably the same. So it is with light. No. But sound does need an atmosphere, I think is how they describe it, how people say it. Sound does need something to travel through. Sound can't move in a vacuum. It doesn't have anything to bounce off. I don't fully understand that, but I have seen it demonstrated. I've seen it experimentally demonstrated. You put sound in a vacuum and the sound doesn't come out of the vacuum. So I know it. I don't need to understand it. I've seen it. There are professionals who understand it. Both, continues Ray Palmer, depend for their velocity on an initial impetus. Both remain constant because below a certain speed, friction disappears. No. That's not how that works. Your editors have been constantly amazed at the interchangeability of Mr. Shaver's, Newton Man's, physical phenomena, or rather their adaptability to one great physical law, which we have as yet hardly begun to comprehend in its entirety. However, at this point, a brief definition might aid the reader in understanding many things he has already read and will read in the following pages. Matter, according to Shaver, in all the cosmos is constantly disintegrating and integrating. There is the natural parallel as to whether the hen or the egg came first. Did the integration come first or the disintegration? But that is the one and only unanswerable question in the whole theory. Eggs is the ash, matter so finely divided as to become energy rather than matter, of disintegrating suns. It's spread, no, that's called heat, by the way. Energy with no matter is called heat. and heat can't affect gravity. Nope. Then perhaps because of the presence of an actual bit of matter, as in the case of the salt grain in the salt solution that commences precipitation, which does not end until all the salt is once more in its original form. All of those things are matter, by the way. Salt, the water, the solution, all of that's matter. Or under the influence of a magnetic field which draws the eggs. On Quanto, we knew a group of elder technicons from sunless Nor, a group of sunless planets 0.16 light years away, had lately established an observatory for the study of our planetary system. It was these elders I wished to contact in my effort to enlist aid for our cause. What the fuck? No shit. I found the missing section. Our trip to Quanto consumed slightly over 24 hours. I found the missing section of dialogue or of manuscript. Jesus fuck, this is a mess. The hunger of which we could easily endure, and on the landing station we switched to a shuttle ship. As we settled into the cradles of the great cavern's entrance on tiny Quanto, liquid air glistened over the view panes. The ship rocked as the cradle connected with its conveyor and was drawn into the cave through the together. Why? Why was this put in a footnote? I'm not finishing it, but that's why that footnote's so long. The missing manuscript got lost in a footnote. God, this is so amateur. This is bad by a magazine in the 1940s, guys. This is bad. Oh my God. We think that YouTube is bad. We think YouTube is trash. This made so much money. Oh my God, neo-Nazis think this is real, and we give them the time of day because they own guns. This is the only reason we take these people seriously, because they own guns. But the people who are concerned with taking neo-Nazis seriously haven't read the literature that neo-Nazis think informs their worldview. So they can't even argue with them at the basics of what neo-Nazis believe. Oh my God. No, there was no peer review because it's just fiction. So the real scientists at the time that had this, and they did, had this brought across their desk by students and family members and other people, were like, nah, this is garbage. But there was no internet at the time, and the people who read it got in their feelings because they spent so much time and energy to understand it the way that it was presented to them in the magazine. And then it's just bullshit. And so I think I started to talk about this. I started getting my feelings. I've known a lot of really intelligent, I have personally known a lot of really intelligent rednecks. Really intelligent rednecks. But God damn, if the internet isn't just full of people who just really do not know anything because of entertainment, because of infotainment approaching telling them the truth, but needing to fuck their minds so they'll continue to return to the infotainment. If you're, like, from the perspective of the content creator of infotainment, if you're dumb enough to watch this, I need you just to remain dumb enough after having watched it to watch more. Because if you're actually learning from the infotainment, you should figure out real quick that that is exploitative garbage. Shallow at best, entry level at best for the information they are presenting. YouTube is entry level at best. And that's if you know how to ask questions of the material you're watching and get answers, because they don't want you to get answers from their material. They aren't making their material to answer questions. Do you know how I know this? I'm largely self-taught, and I look to the internet first. I said, surely there are intelligent, informed, educated, well-meaning people on the internet in an educational auspice. And I was right. But what they are not doing is providing you with information that they did not have to go into massive debt to get. It would be stupid to give you for free what they required tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to attain. That would be stupid. So if you think you're getting a college education, if you think that you're getting a legitimate education from the internet, you're silly. Silly. Scary silly. Like believing Richard Shaver's eggs is how the universe works. Silly. Like, wow, you don't know anything. You're unreliable with a pair of scissors. Silly. Like, you're the kind of person that I think of. The only way, when I think of that kind of person, I think of a story that my granddad told from the Navy. He told me that there was a guy on their ship who's just totally fucking worthless, and that his favorite moment when he thinks about that guy is that they were doing something. He and a superior officer, other people I'm sure, but my granddad, this superior officer, this guy, are doing something, and that guy keeps asking, how can I help? How can I help? Yeah, stick be tripping. How can I help? How can I help? And finally, the guy, the superior officer, not my granddad, but the superior officer tells the guy that he needs him to go up to he needed him to go up to some part of the ship where the tools or whatever was stored, and he says, I need you to go up there and find me a fallopian tube. And I'll just let the women in the audience figure that one out. He's like, I need you to go. Yeah, right. So my granddad's like, so we got a few hours apiece, and he finally comes back and he goes, I looked everywhere and nobody will help me find a fallopian tube. Nobody on this ship knows what a fallopian tube is. It's like, we just needed you to be anywhere the fuck but here. That's how I feel about people like Richard Shaver, like people that I meet that like I'm not thinking about anybody, especially not anybody whose name I know on this channel. But I've met a lot of people over the years where like the only thing you're good for is looking for a fallopian tube, like being the fuck away from me. Right, a board stretcher if you're a carpenter, right? My granddad did that one too. You're dumb enough, you'd go looking for a board stretcher. And so I was observing a conversation today, and I don't know if either of them is going to get into the replay crew or not, but I was observing a conversation today about people being too sensitive and getting in their feelings about being made fun of, and advocating for irreverence, and that I'm not going to position away from that negatively and anti-moralize that. There's a reason that we used to brutally make fun of one another. There's a reason that we used to tease one another. There's a reason that we used to tell one another to go look for things that we should know are in a woman's body, not in a tool room. Right. There's a reason. I talk about this all the time, but there's a reason that we used to pick on you for only having one character trait. When I was in high school, and shortly after I was in high school, we began to move toward what would become the Me Too and the cancel cultures, which are effectively over now. Now we're still going to talk with those memes like that war wasn't won, but Aziz Ansari is making movies again, so clearly Me Too is over. And I think the other one, cancel culture, I don't remember the last time anyone was meaningfully canceled. I think that ended with Johnny Depp's trial. But I used to have this conversation a lot with people, especially males, during that whole last decade. Because I'll call you a fat ass to your face. And people are like, oh, well, you're skinny. You don't know what it's like to be fat, whatever. And it's like, well, I will call you your one character trait. And I will call it to your attention that you only have one character trait because you only have one character trait. You are certainly a bulbous three-dimensional person with one character trait. And that we used to do that so that people would develop multiple character traits. We used to do it because introspection does not come naturally to humans. But when everyone is telling you you only have one character trait, you only have one character trait. But what happened is when we stopped calling people out for only having one character trait, people with only one character trait began calling out people with multiple character traits, and people with multiple character traits tried to eat, drink, and smoke themselves to death. That's what's happened in the last 20 years. That's why all your comedians are skinny now. That's why the fat ones aren't funny. That's why the people who identify as fat today only make fat jokes. This is why we got so fucking sick of Carlos Mencia. This is why we don't like racist jokes. This is why everything is a niche now, and it doesn't have anything to do with being offended. It has to do with having one character trait. You can know a character if he has one trait because he's going to respond to every situation exactly the same. You don't have to wonder about that guy's mystery. We're reading a character. We're reading a book about a character with no traits. Sci-fi and fantasy don't have movies. I know I am. I know I'm triggering you, Eric. Sci-fi and movies, sci-fi movies, sci-fi and fantasy. You might be one of these people watching it right now. You might be one of the people that's like, there need to be more sci-fi and fantasy movies. As I'm thinking about this spaceship full of a ragtag band of misfit heroes, I'm thinking of the Guardians of the Galaxy and whether their character traits were earned. I love sci-fi and fantasy, but we got to think about why more movies aren't made. Are the character traits earned? Because that's why I couldn't get into Guardians of the Galaxy myself. Is the character traits aren't earned. These characters aren't earned. They're archetypes. I was talking with somebody I love deeply, deeply the other day about Zoe Saldana. Her career doesn't make sense to me. And I think now that I've been talking about it, I think I know what it is. I think she only plays characters that don't earn their traits. Gamora doesn't have any traits. That blue alien girl doesn't have any character traits. Nothing earned, right? It's all built into the character. Now I don't know that don't know that that's her fault. But it makes me wonder, because of these T-Mobile commercials, it makes me wonder if Zoe Saldana has any character traits. If that's what it is. If she gravitates for characters with no personality because she just has no character. She hasn't had to, maybe she just didn't have to earn her stardom. I don't know. Her career is confusing to me, and I haven't studied it. I'm putting this out there in the ether for the comment section or passersby in the chat. Maybe there's a Zoe Saldana superfan who can explain this all to me. But her characters, to me, are all unearned. Their arcs, their traits are unearned. They're just written into the character. And so we could get into a discussion about what is an earned character trait, right? Usually it's something really difficult for you. It doesn't have to be difficult for other people, but it has to be difficult for you. Typically, an earned character trait is something difficult for you that you survive, that you just make it through. You don't even have to win. It just says you survive. Hello, Hazel. Right, an earned character trait versus a not earned character trait. And so I would argue that an earned character trait is it's something that your character earned by living through, by surviving. And so but because of their choices, like they made it through it because of their choices. So just as a negative example, because I find negative examples more instructive, the Guardians of the Galaxy, because I was talking about them, Peter Quill, his character is what it is. His traits are what they are because he was kidnapped by aliens as a boy and raised by pirates. But as they go through the movie, especially the second movie, is about how everything he does is to impress his adopted father. And so the third movie, he has no personality because his biological father is a god and malignant, and his adopted father is a pirate who kidnapped him as a boy and gave him all of his character traits. In fact, forced all of his character traits on him. So he didn't earn any of that, right? Whereas if I were to just pick another space movie, Project Hail Mary, the main character earns going into space by going through all of the science that he went through, and then he earns his role as the main character by refusing to go to space. So you believe, I've only seen the trailers of Project Hail Mary, but I read and watched Andy Weir's other book, the one about getting back from Mars, The Martian. And so the plot is going to be exactly the same. Martian was really good. The book was phenomenal. But I'm predicting similar plots because I'll eventually watch Project Hail Mary, probably when I'm watching it with my girlfriend, because that's not a movie I'll go watch by myself in theater. It's going to be too similar to The Martian, but with aliens. And they showed too much in the trailer. They showed way too much in the trailer for me to have questions to go into it. So I would need a snuggle. sure, my predictions can be wrong too, and that's a reason to watch a movie. That's just not enough for me to go see it. And yeah, there's no returning to Earth. I didn't anticipate that. I mean, the um, the plot, as I would describe it, is unlikely scientist does unlikely thing. Character development ensues. I'm a storyteller, guys. I'm a lot more reductive when it comes to plot than I think you are. And I know the ground I'm treading on, Rach. I'm being reductive without being hurtful. I'm just trying to quickly sum up why I didn't go watch it in theater this summer. Because a bunch of people wanted me to, and I was like, no. Yeah, I appreciate that, Rach. I picked something that I knew you would like for expedience, but I also picked something I knew that you like that I haven't consumed. Well, maybe I am, Rach. But like, so our Mutan Mayan character, his leadership role in this party is unearned. He has the leadership role because he's the main character. Yeah, sure, Philip. And he has all this intelligence. He has all this intelligence and all of this knowledge, this decisive ability because of an intelligence potion. He took a mind enhancing potion in chapter 2. And so now he's a superhero. That is the most unearned that a character trait can be. I'm suddenly the main character and I'm perfect for this narrative because I drank an unnamed, undescribed potion earlier in it. Like that is unearned even by medieval and ancient storytelling standards. He chose to drink it for sure. Yeah, he chose to follow, a fawn into a building, and there was given a potion for some reason. The book is I remember Lemuria, the title of the video, Philip. It's probably not for you, pal. Spider-Man didn't choose to be bitten. Right. Exactly. A bad thing that happens to you. Uh, in large part because of your choices. Peter Parker chose to be at that wherever, right? Or he chose to handle the spider. Usually it's some stupid choice they make, right? Exactly. Spider-Man's a really good counterexample because a lot of people accuse Spider-Man, especially the modern Spider-Man, the new one that I really like. I prefer this most recent Spider-Man. A lot of people accuse him of having unearned character traits, but his character trait of perseverance, perseverance through bad shit happening to you, which is his main character trait, this current incarnation, wasn't given to him by Tony Stark. It wasn't given to him by Iron Man. What was given to him by Iron Man was an opportunity to be a hero who is defined by his perseverance through bad shit happening to him. And that's why Spider-Man had to get snapped. That's why he had to be one of the people that was turned into eggs, effectively, dust, space dust. Well, they're effectively the same character, Philip. They're both of them are character trait defined by perseverance through adversity. The Joker is absolutely earned, especially, and I hate it. I hate it because of the sex violence, but especially if you go with the Killing Joke Joker. Wow, I know a lot about nerd culture. I don't read this stuff. I want to be very clear. I don't read this stuff. I just care about nerd culture. Um, yeah, if you go with the Killing Joke Joker, who was the Red Mask, he was just a low level thief gangster, and then bad shit kept happening to him in his stand up comedy. And so he got into a way over his head into a heist and then fell into a vat. All of that is bad shit that kept happening to him because of his choices. He earned his psychopathy. Exactly. Hey, Eric. Or you could say he came by it honestly. I think that's, if you're going to write a character, and if I'm right now, if I'm encouraging you all to be storytellers and character developers of yourselves, coming by your character traits honestly. Philalite, a lover of truth, I would love the honest character, but coming by your stuff honestly is the preferable, the more earned narrative arc. Like Harry Potter being chosen for, I've only read the first book, so Harry Potter being chosen for Hogwarts because his parents were super wizards isn't earned. That's not an earned character trait. Him being bullied by, not even bullied, abused by his adoptive family, him being bullied by his brother, and then going to Hogwarts and being bullied by the platinum blonde dye job. None of that's earned. His friends all choose him. His heists all choose him. Even running around in the school with or looking for the invisible cloak, the cloak even chooses him. Like everything that happens to him for contrived narrative purposes because J.K. Rowling is a hack and she needs these narrative gates to happen, and she doesn't have a character with character traits because she needs the character to be as blank a slate as possible for children who've never read a book before to be able to understand what they're reading. He's just on the ride of his life. And yeah, the on the ride of your life narratives can be really interesting. Characters that don't have any business being in this story, but being dragged along because somebody who does have a business in it thinks you're the funny one or wants to have sex with you, can be a good story, can be a good story. They can be absolute seat of your pants thrill rides where nobody who watches it really knows what's going on, and none of the motives of the other characters are ever fully expressed. But our author, our narrator, can't just let that happen. Every time the story starts to pick up speed, like his speed of light, every time he starts to get velocity within the narrative, he has to stop and tell us that the characters around him aren't thinking harmful thoughts about him. And so he kills his own momentum, which is hilarious because he clearly doesn't understand friction or velocity or mass for that matter. So like if you're going to try to use a Newtonian physics model for how to get a story going, right? All this impetus and that and that and that, he's doing it all wrong. Which he's not telling you what Shaver's not telling you is that I'm telling you I'm a generationally great, generationally excellent writer and teller of story. Maybe not stories, but the story that I want to tell you is generationally excellent. And Shaver's not telling you that he's generationally excellent. He's not telling you he's a generational genius. He's not even saying he's a particularly good prose writer. He is telling you that he has had a vision, a dream, a series of dreams that explain all of the then mysteries of science. And it's bad. And so if he were just on the ride of his life, like the characters even said, you should be a passenger in this story because you're a row slave. You're a all of these other people were born biologically, right? Now their parents might have masturbated into cups so their genes, like a human and a deer, could combine, but they were all genetically combined willfully by their parents. So they all knew their parents. Our main character, he explains to us in the first chapter, Muten Mayan, was created in a lab. He appeared in his own timeline as a fully formed adult. He's a clone. He's just a faceless, mindless, identityless, characterless robot. And he keeps talking about how he's afraid that he's going to go into this detrimental robot uh, phase of these row, like what he is. They can, their minds can be turned off or replaced with thought impulses from these rodite, whatever the hell that means. And so he's terrified this thing is going to happen to him. That should be the whole story. He should be a passenger on this, terrified that all of these people around him that are manipulating this story are going to turn him into the villain. And that's the suspense that's hanging over all of this, because of things that he's told us, but he hasn't shown it. Yeah, this could be an interesting sci-fi story. This could be a very interesting sci-fi movie if you just kept the pace up so that you can't see the scenery and you can't think about who these people and their motivations really are. You just keep it moving like a campy 80s sci-fi horror movie, and you're good. You've got a decent movie. He's got the bones. That's why it pisses me off. He's got the bones of a decent story. Here. If he would drop the science, drop the hard sci-fi, drop the mysticism, drop the Atlantis of it all, and just tell a story about a people who are trying to escape a planet, a planet with a secret government that can shoot you with death rays. He's got a decent story. He's got the bones of a decent story here. He just has not done anything approaching the natural science necessary to get the bones in the correct order to actually have a a skeleton that lived once. Does that make sense? Probably it doesn't. That's how I think about writing. Eric is gone now, but he and I were talking about dinosaurs earlier, and I was significantly less interested in the dinosaurs than I was the paleontology. Secondhand embarrassment is exactly what I feel for Shaver. That's exactly right, Rach. It's cringy, but it's not cringe in the way that kids say it. It was, oh, he thinks this was his best, and he thinks it was good. Not good enough. He thinks it was good. And then the part that I'm starting to struggle with is, how dumb was Ray Palmer actually? How dumb was the editor actually? That the editor lost sections of the manuscript in a footnote. Like, the key action of that chapter was misprinted into a footnote. Now, is that the Kindle version? Or is that just the quality of work that we're talking with Mr. Shaver's magazine? Because if that's the quality of work we're talking with Mr. Shaver's magazine, I don't know how this stuff made it into the... I don't know how it made it to where I could hear about it and have the idea that it's good actually. Because I've heard people suggest this is good actually. It's not. Not even by campy, just fun pulp shit. That's why the last time I did this, I got into... I started talking about Robert E. Howard and the Conan books. Multiple people have told me that they thought it was good, that I should read it actually, that Shaver was good actually. Not like it was fun, but like good actually. Like they'll say something like, I like Star Trek, you should check out Star Trek. Oh, and Richard Shaver's really good actually, like that. Because you know how I am. Somebody's like, oh, you like Star Trek, and I'm like, oh, do you know the Shaver mysteries? And they're like, I like sci-fi, and I'm like, oh, cool. Do you like pulp sci-fi from the 50s? 40s, the 30s, you into UFO stuff? And they'll be like, yeah, 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 you know how I am, the people that circle around me. And I'll be like, oh, have you read the Shaver stuff? Should I actually read it? And they're like, yeah, 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 it's really good. Really good, actually. Check it out. And thank you. I did see what you said about Spoopyween and getting through it. Yeah, I did a whole month. I think I missed 3 days in the whole month of reading this garbage. And we're going to keep going. I'm going to come up with a Thanksgiving theme. And so instead of trying to spook you out with how stupid these people are, I started doing it today. I'm going to be thankful that it's here for me to test my chops against, and that it continues to exist for people to get joy from and test their critical thinking chops against. That's probably going to be next month. I'm probably going to call it Thanks Derping. So there you go. I'm tired now. I did 2 hours. I love you guys. But if it's after 2 a.m., I've done I've done 14 hours of work today. It counts. Every minute of it counts. But thank you guys for being here. I appreciate in a big way. It means a lot to me. It does mean a lot to me that these maintain about 5 people while I'm reading. I understand that some nights there's cross chatter and you're not paying attention to the story. But I do read these, and because I'm reading them nightly, I do read them anticipating and expecting, hoping, wanting, desiring, but anticipating and expecting that you will listen and you will pay attention, even as I break into the narrative to bitch about it. It's part of the story of seeing somebody read live, tell a story live. Um, it's not an audiobook. It's not a television show. It's not an interview show. It's me engaging with literature in the way that I engage with literature. Because intermittent engagement is how we actually learn. Forcing ourselves to remember what happened earlier in the book as details plan out. So, like when I do the thing like, he's retconning himself, it's necessary that you notice that in a book. Sure, getting into the flow of the book and not absorbing those things and just being present with the sentence that you're with right now is an experience for the beginning reader, for the first time reader, for the child reader. But as we develop, we need to be conscious adults that everything that we bring into our brain stays there. Just because it only, to our awareness, gets caught in our short-term memory loop and it's gone and we have no immediate access to bring it forward, doesn't mean it's gone. And so I am a person who underwent very, very real hardship. If I talk about character traits being born through hardship, I went through real hardship as a kid. Not the most hardship. Every time I thought, oh, my life is too hard for me to handle, I always met somebody who was going through more. And so it's okay. I can carry more than what I'm carrying now. For me, that's my life. And so that's where that character trait of, I just said it's 14 hours and I need to be done, and I'm going to push myself for another 2 because then it's 16. And then I've earned my 8 hours. Fuck off. I'm sleeping. But as somebody who went through real hardship, I can tell you that trauma memories, trauma, might be something you think you've forgotten, but it's there. And these stories are a kind of trauma. If you think of trauma in terms of the medical, which is what cognitive, emotional trauma, life trauma, the psychological trauma is trying to be medical in its approach. If we think about what trauma is, right? So think about Law and Order or whatever autopsy you've ever heard of. He died by blunt force trauma, right? That means damage, right? And it typically means severe damage, irreparable damage. This literature is traumatizing. especially if it's trying to tell you that the world works in a way that it doesn't. Because even just understanding how he thinks eggs works is trauma, because you're unlearning the truth. You're entertaining a fantasy just to be polite to this guy that will harm you. Will harm you. Not can, will harm you if you're not smart and careful about how you organize the way it embeds itself in your neurons. Well, the reason that people like Graham Hancock and these neo-Nazis believe this shit is because they chose to. They started asking themselves, well, what if it's real? And then they just stopped asking one day. And they just decided that it was, or that they were going to prove that it was by looking for it. And look what they found. And look at what they chose to do to get there. Look at what they continue to choose to do. And so I stop and I start to argue with this stuff because it's doing damage to me, right? He's asking me, by reading it out loud, he's asking me to say appalling things about teenage girls. He decides that he wants to save the entire universe, universal civilization, because a teenage girl hugged him. This is a deeply flawed, lonely, and traumatized person. The pederasty thing, pederasty is an illness in psychology terms. We no longer think of sexual deviance as psychological damage, as disorderment, as a failure to mature into a healthy adult. But being attracted to someone significantly younger to you comes from a place of not experiencing attraction back from people at that age. And it's a stunting of growth. So this wanting a 13-year-old girl to throw her arms around him means that when he was sexually maturing, he did not get reciprocation from other sexually developing females. And so now the only female that he can desire is one who has not formed yet, because he has not formed yet. You have got to be careful of your authors, because your authors are teaching you to be like them. Because you can only actually write what you know. So the only things that are true about this character is when he forgets the character, stuck back there with the trauma. Yeah, he's going to forever be 9, forever be 12, fawning after some girl with really nice legs. There was some girl in his life who had a really thick ass, and he really wanted to jiggle it, and he just never did. And so now he's going to fantasize about it in his science fiction, because science fiction and fantasy, it used to be called science fantasy, among other things. They used to be the same genre. Elves and aliens were the same genre of fiction. And so, like, when I was talking last night, the night before, whatever, I don't know that Rach was here for when I was saying this, and so I am talking kind of to Rach now. But I was talking with somebody. Actually, it might not have been for Spoopyween, and it might have been with Rach. I might have been only talking to Rach. My conversations get confused. But somebody asked me if I believe in aliens, and I said, no, absolutely not. And the foundation of my argument was because the phenomenon was reported as both aliens and elves simultaneously at the beginning, and it only divorced in the 80s, the 1980s. So the two genre of phenomena have only been divorced for 50 years, and only since people started trying to make the Lord of the Rings foundation to a specific genre. Only since Tolkien died and his kids got control of that IP has have the two things been separated. Because sci-fi's fans decided that it was more scientific, and fantasy didn't want to deal with science at all. So uh, there was, there still is, but now they call it hard and soft sci-fi. Tolkien, Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien, author of The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, The Silmarillion, and others. Um, his fanboys in the 80s, because of bullying that happened in the 1960s and 70s. Um, the Tolkien fanboys and D&D helped with this. Wizards of the Coast. I've been talking about how Wizards of the Coast standardized all this stuff, and Wizards of the Coast was a big part of Tolkien. The Lord of the Rings and fantasy ossifying in the particular way that it did. And Dune actually contributed to all this. Dune informed a lot of Star Wars, a lot of what we come to assume is Star Wars was actually Dune first. And then everybody knows about the, not Roy Rogers, but the Space Boy that it's ripping off. I'm not worried about that, about trying to do that. But that Space Boy that it's trying to rip off, Star Wars actually is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Because Star Wars is soft sci-fi. Star Wars and Star Trek, their fans divide at the hardness of the science. So people always do the, well, Star Trek invented elevators and not elevators, doors that are open automatically and wristwatches and all these other things that Star Trek innovated, right? Because it was forward thinking about the technologies we have today. What will they be like in the very far future? And a lot of them were wrong. But like doors that open automatically, that's a convenience you can imagine the far future figuring out. So we'll just act like they did. And then Star Wars is set in the past because it's actually fantasy fiction. It's not sci-fi. Star Wars is a fantasy movie. It's not sci-fi at all. It's in space, sure, and there are spaceships and shit, sure, but there were spaceships and shit in Greek fantasy literature too, and that doesn't mean that there were ancient aliens building pyramids. It just means that humans understand that there's a lot of stories that can take place up there because the rules are in here. And I'm a rules lawyer. If we're going to talk D&D, we talk a lot about games. I am a rules guy. The rules have to be internally consistent. And in a mystery, Richard Shaver names this the Shaver Mysteries, and a mystery for 200 years before Richard Shaver, and I'm pushing that way too far back, but for 200 years before Richard Shaver, in the mystery genre, the rules have to be established so that the reader can figure out what's going on before the game is played. And so what that means is that when you read a Sherlock Holmes book, you are supposed to be able to figure out who did it before you read anything but the setup. The reason Sherlock figures it out at the setup is because you are supposed to be able to figure it out at the setup. Reading it is about knowing whether you were right or not. It's a game between you and the author. This is why there's a whole genre called closed room, sealed room mysteries, closed door mysteries, sealed room mysteries, where someone has gotten into or something has gotten out of a room that was not opened and could not be opened, a sealed room. There was a whole genre of this fiction. It's a game between the audience and the author. The stuff in the middle is about writing good prose, good characters, good dialogues, taking you on an adventure by your nose. But when you watch Law and Order, if you cannot figure out who did it after the opening scene where the cops are getting all the information at the scene, the writers cheated. They cheated you of the experience of a mystery that you could have solved. That's why I never liked Law and Order, Criminal Intent, and why I fucking hate the CSI shows. They're designed, they're written in such a way that you can't know. Shaver makes every mistake he possibly can because he's reading a lot of science. He's reading a lot of science literature, but he's also reading a lot of pulp. So he doesn't know the rules. Vincent D'Onofrio, I arbitrarily disliked because he has my name. So I skipped out on it for that reason alone, actually. It took me a really long time to get over that. Don't criticize me for that. It's real, and it's not going anywhere. Arbitrarily because he has my name. I know. It took me a really long time. Well, we have the same name. Neither of us was the first Vincent. But he was doing memorable things with my name, and that fucked me up for a long time. I had to pretend like he didn't exist, or I would be like, well, there's already a famous Vincent. What's the point? I used to give up very easy for very arbitrary reasons because my entire support system was telling me to give up on everything because it would be too expensive for them to support in time and money. And just social skills. My support network lacks communication skills. Which is why I turned to books, which is why I became such a good reader. And I became a better reader when I started studying what other people are taught about how to write. So when I sit here and I lecture and I say, look, young storytellers, don't make these mistakes. It's deliberate. I know a lot about the craft of writing. I know a lot about it. I could teach you a lot. Don't give me your manuscript. You are going to hate all of the red letters, all the red all the red pen on your manuscript. Don't give it to me because I'll hate it and I'll treat it like I treated this because you're an amateur and it's bad. And I demand better if it's going to live in my brain for the rest of my life. You ever think about that? It's like I used to have a friend, coworker, who didn't know that he's one of the least tolerant people in the world, definitely one of the most bigoted people ever to live. He was once telling me a story, and this isn't to demonstrate his intolerance, but this isn't his. This is a story about his intolerance. He was telling me a story about how he hated hippies. I fucking hate hippies. And I'm like, why hippies? And he's like, man, they stink. And I'm like, okay, why do you care? And he's explaining to me that he was trying to fuck this girl when he was in college. He was in his 40s at the time. He's like, well, I was trying to fuck this girl when I was going to college. Kind of missing the point of going to college. He's like, I was going to college to fuck this girl. And one of her friends was a hippie. And he always sat beside me in class. I guess between them. I don't know. But he always sat beside me in class. Is how he tells this story. And he says he's just like, can you fucking tell that guy to stop sitting next to me? She's like, why do you fucking care? And he goes, because stink particles are bacteria. That motherfucker's getting his bacteria in my body. And you know what? He was totally fucking right. I have lived with that the rest of my life. Every time I smell somebody stinking, I'm like, you motherfucker, you just put your bacteria in my body. You got your stink particles in my body. That's what he said. He's right, though. He's totally right, though. And so by that same token, these people that come through with their brain rot and their dumb bullshit that they say in the chat, these uh bad writers, these fucking YouTubers, these TikTokers that I come across that are feeding you misinformation, that are trying to make you stupid. They're putting their stupid particles in your brain. Oh man. I'm really glad. I'm not going to out his name, but I loved him deeply. And that shit, I think about him every single time I smell somebody bad. He was still so mad about it. It had to have been 20 years. It had to have been 20 years between that dude smelling bad and him not getting to fuck her. And he thought about it on the reg. I loved him like an older brother. That shit was hilarious. And because he loved him like an older brother, he had to die. We don't talk anymore. He decided to get up in my face when my life was falling apart, and I said, I don't need you in my way. Why are you getting between me and getting my life back together? And why have you chosen now to come back into my life? Whatever. I'll be all right. And that is the end of the show. I'm tired now. We made it through another chapter. I dread this. I really do. Like just all day long, I'm like, oh my god, I gotta go back to do Richard Shaver. I was talking to my girlfriend about it all day. Like, man, I dedicated myself to this. I made a whole Halloween themed series so I could get to this fucking book before Halloween began because holy fuck you guys. Just wait till we get to the Darrow and their mind control rods. Just wait. It only gets worse. And I have to be emphatic about this. People believe it's real. I have listened to so many, between 5 and 15. I mean, so many documentaries, podcasts, YouTube videos, informed people. I'm glad you got to make it too, Rich. Informed people discuss this work. And between 5 and 10 people who read it and said they really liked it. And wow, the informed people have clearly not read it. Clearly not read it. Because you cannot say, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they have read it and they read differently than I do. But they have not read it the way I am reading it. They did not let it conjure mental images. Because they list the plot points and they tell the history in such a way that it seems like the most compelling thing that was ever written. And so now when we finish this, I need to know. I need to know who Ray Palmer was. I need to know this guy. And that's the kind of thing that a content creator like me is supposed to go deep underground into his bunker relying on his Patreon subs to feed him and clothe him and make sure that he's washing his balls. And I cannot afford to live like that. I cannot afford to dive that deep into a subject, into a living human being again, and know that no one would watch my absolutely manic and paranoid and completely insane video that I made as a result of it. I've seen some of my work when I do this. Some of it's on the Patreon now, and I know it's insane. I know my impulses and the depth to which I go in these subjects is harmful even to myself. But that's where we get character traits from, folks. And so the things that you may like about my other work, Schedule 1, for example, all of that came from diving way too deep into this shit. I have a friend who says saw too much can do too much, and it's the aware of it. I didn't used to be aware of it. But you sleep on the floor in a cold woman's house for 4 years. Eat nothing but cold takeout for 4 years. Look at yourself in the mirror after, yeah, she made me sleep on the floor. I only had a bed for maybe the last year of being there. I've never said it was anything but abusive. You get character traits. Anyway, you see your writing. You look, when you watch yourself write a 15,000 word manuscript, knowing that it's a 15,000 word manuscript, knowing that it's in one setting, but not realizing how long you've been sitting in front of this word processor until at the end, it changes you. It changes your self-perception. Like, oh, you can be obsessive, and the kind of obsessive that you are is clinical. People like you used to get locked in insane asylums. People like me used to be cared for institutionally. There used to be places that we could be provided where people would care for us because we no longer can care for ourselves adequately. And then Barack Obama shut all those places down. So here we are. I am not a danger to myself or anyone, but there are many people like me who are. And so I took it on myself to prove that you can get right. But I can't. I need to know who Ray Palmer is, but I can't do it for the channel. And I probably can't do it right now. But I've been requested, it's been requested of me that I get into one of my manic, insane conversations that I have with Gemini because they're at least interesting what they produce. And there's a real chance that I get. Are we ready? What happens at 5 a.m.? Huh. I didn't start reading until after the witching hour. That's interesting. No, I started reading. I read during the witching hour. Oh, you take a nap? Yeah, it's time. I gotta wake up and watch these. I made enough money. I made enough money from my Patreon subscriber today to go to the. I almost said the movies. No, go to have a pizza tomorrow. Watch football. So I should really. Thank you. Oh, there's a pumpkin on my head. Thank you for that. Fuck, tomorrow is Saturday. We already crossed that bridge. Shit. Yeah, you didn't do anything wrong, Jay. Hello. Thank you for the pumpkin. I didn't know it was going to happen either. I enjoyed that one more than any of them, actually. If more of them stuck to my head, I would react more to them. Yeah. If you could put glasses on my dumb face, I would react more to them, like while I'm reading, while I'm talking about something else. That's what you guys want me to do. I appreciate that, and so I would react better. So good job, Jay. That was the one. That was A plus actually. I enjoyed that probably as much as you did. Shit, tomorrow's not Sunday. That throws a wrench in everything. No, it doesn't. Tomorrow's fucking Rach. What the hell? You've been at me all week about this. Tomorrow's fucking Rock of Ages until I'm bored. And then we're going to play Hyperdimension Neptunia until I'm bored. I'm going to spend all day laughing tomorrow. You almost let me skip my favorite day, my favorite work week of the favorite day of the work week. You're about to be, Jay. I'm fucking tired. I have been at this shit for so long. I woke up at 1 a.m. It is 4 a.m. I woke up at 1 p.m. It is now 5 a.m. So that's 16 hours. Yeah, you're a stupid person, right? I don't know why your dumbass spends so much time with me. I can't be that much good company. That my company can't be that good. Yeah, sleepy seats. Well, thank you, Jay. The sun is going to be coming up any minute now, and I'm starting to get a photosensitive migraine from my lamp. I can fix that. There we go. That helps. Actually. Thank you for listening, Rachie. Thank you for letting me do it my way. I know I'm breaking in. I know it's just as much a struggle for me. I imagine if it's a struggle for me, it's gobbledygook nonsense for you guys. Yeah, I could also be dehydrated. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's mostly just caffeine, being awake all day, and the I'm photosensitive, and I've got a light. I got a very bright light above the my glasses have special lenses that help with filtering out the light. That's why they make such fun shadows on my face. And so I'm just getting a photosensitivity migraine. I'm getting it's called a tension migraine. Because I did spend 2 hours before this reading. And so I was looking at a white screen with words on it, squinting. No coffee. I had a bunch of Mountain Dew a few hours ago. Go sleep, Rachie. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I have got a lot of knowledge for sure, Jay. For sure. I don't like making sales pitches to people that I'm talking to, but I always put it this way: I'm not here to make friends, but I will pretend to be your friend for a minimum $10 a month on Patreon. I'll play the role. Pretend means something different to me than it does to you. So I'm not actually making a sales pitch at you, Jay, but there's a future audience that might come and watch these someday. Eric can tell you that I'm not very consistent about actually holding up that barrier. Yeah, just hang out, Jay. I'm not making a sales pitch at you. My Patreon, that's just where I put my creative work. I have a lot. There's like 300 or 400 posts on there. I was journaling my homelessness there for a while. I have my creative writing. This is not Robert Longshore that sometimes I read for the channel is on there. Um, I try to make that valuable with my creative work. Um, it's not so much about anything more than this channel is about anything. I just know a lot. I think a lot, and I try to stay busy. Oh, you're asking me what Patreon is. I understand. Yes, Patreon is more like Squarespace. Are you familiar with Squarespace? Patreon is more like a personal website that's already got the paywalls and store built in. Hey, it's all good. You don't need to know. Uh, yeah. So Patreon, it's an app. It can be an app on your phone. It's also a website. Um, it's like a Squarespace personalized website. They just take like 25% or whatever it is off the top. It's just a convenient place. It's a convenient app that creators can Patreon, like PAT, like patron with an E before the O. Patreon. Um, it was developed by a band. It was developed by an indie band that wanted to help other artists. That's the spelling right there, Jay. My links are all in my profile. And again, I'm not making a sales pitch at you right now. You asked me a question. Um, the website was developed by an indie band to try to help indie artists have a website that wasn't predatory. I like Patreon. I would subscribe to other people's Patreons if I had money. Um, but I've been working to flesh out the members here on the channel, so all of my videos go up to the members first. That's $5, and you can call yourself a Shago Knight, and you get that, or Shago Knot, and you get that fun star. And then the Patreon, I put the names of my Patreon, all of my current subbing Patreon members. I put those paid subbing Patreon members. I put those in all of the descriptions of my videos that I post as producers. So I've been spending the last few weeks trying to flesh that out. So when I do the and it looks like I don't know what's on my Patreon, it's because it's a lot. I'm not. I want to be very clear with you, Jay. I if you're here on the internet to cultivate relationships, I'm happy to cultivate a relationship without ever asking you for a single dollar. And if I provide a benefit to you, you like the channel, you like where it's going, you want to be a part of it, um, and you want your name, right, as characters in the games I'm playing, or you want to be remembered for being a part of the channel, especially early. And this is still very early. That's you're a dork. There's uh, there's ways. Yeah, uh, yeah. Uh, Struggling relative to other people. I wouldn't say that financially I've struggled, even as a person who chooses to live in a tent, as a monastic, ascetic, religious, homeless. Um, I wouldn't say I struggle more than anybody else. Uh, in fact, because I'm knowledgeable, because I'm intelligent, because I'm hardworking, because I'm industrious, because I'm kind, and because I'm good company. Um, I have survived in a way that other people would literally not be able to. But it was hard. It took a long time. Yeah, you don't have to already know things, Jay. That's why I say, hang out, hang out. This is a deep, complex hang. This is only one of the kinds of things that I do at the channel. So hang out before you go throwing money at me or feeling sympathy or feeling bad for me. Just hang out. Just hang out. Get to know Eric. Get to know Mac and Birdie and Angela, and hang out and Rach. You know, hang out. Just come hang out. See what happens. That's how I feel about it. That's what you're doing. Precisely. I have pathological demand avoidance. I don't like to be told what to do. So I'm most certainly not telling you to do what you're doing. But I would recommend doing what you're doing. I think that's the right way to go about it. You don't need my endorsement. Yeah, I am technically in bed. Hey, Gerald. I'm in my tent, all bedded down for the night. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, after dark, there's little else to do, for sure. For sure. That's why I started reading on these lives. Um, I didn't like, I didn't like spending the night doing nothing. I didn't like uh, watching videos or movies or uh, reading a book that I wasn't paying attention to, or just texting for endless hours until I was tired enough to actually fall asleep. So I'm in North America. I'm not in South America for sure. And then if you're asking me if I'm above the Mason-Dixon line in the United States, I'm in Ohio. Technically north of the Mason-Dixon line. Sure. I forget that people outside the United States call the U.S. America when there are two whole continents with that name. You live in the U.S.? Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough, Jay. I'm not going to ask. Fair enough. I'm not going to ask. It's not that I'm not curious or that I'm not interested. Well, I'm not curious. Um, but that's your life. People get weird when I tell them I'm not going to ask follow-up questions. The cops have started being cool to me here the last couple of weeks, and I appreciate that. For media communications, that's cool. So you wanted to do what I'm doing. You have informed opinions about what I'm doing. I did not go to school for media communication. I didn't go to school, actually. I dropped out of school. I made it 6 weeks to university. Yeah, you know about Patreon. You're the kind of person who has an education in how to grow things like what I'm doing, how to encourage, how to be friendly, how to be inviting. And you'll go to my Patreon and you'll see that it is not particularly inviting for sure, not to, to people who don't know me or who don't want to who don't want to take the time. That's fine. Yeah, you don't need to use it or go there, but you know how to manipulate media, right? You know how to manipulate is a word that I should use more sparingly. Operate within. Yeah, you know how to operate within these spaces in a way that I don't. You have been educated and trained to operate in these spaces in a way that I have not. Let's put it that way. Because there's somebody watching right now that goes, nah, education versus experience. Fuck off. Yeah, that's it. Create positive breadcrumbs. For sure. I'm always quick to admit when people have expertise or at least training that I don't have. Because the training means a lot. Means a lot. You learn along the way. Yeah. I've learned a lot just this week. Um, just since the last 6 weeks or whatever of getting the laptop, I've learned a shitload. Yeah. But I wouldn't say that I'm good at it. I would say that I'm deliberately irascible and hard to get to know. And that pushes people away. So like I could have like the friendly corporate sounding professional. You got to ask the right questions. And law enforcement probably helped you learn that if you didn't learn it, if you weren't deliberately taught that in school. Law enforcement probably helped with that. It's about asking the right questions, asking good questions, asking cutting questions, asking probing questions, asking questions that will get you the answers you want. That's why you don't hear me ask questions very often. For sure. Yeah, I'm always quick to respect somebody else's expertise because there are things I can figure out and there are a lot of things that I reject. So to somebody's expertise, the things that I reject, like Shaver, for anybody who's listened all the way to the end of this, there's a lot that Shaver is rejecting too. I've already discussed the difference in there's no real line between genius and insanity. It's like a fourth quarter, or it's like a fourth down call on the goal line as a head coach. If you go for it and don't get it, you're insane. If you go for it and get it, you're a genius. There really is a very, very clean dividing line between those two things. You like music? We were talking music on the Discord. I would recommend the Discord before the Patreon. Eventually, there are going to be sections of the Discord that are going to have to be paywalled. But we were talking music. There's a server on the Discord that I'm trying to encourage you guys to just share what you're listening to, and not talk about it, except in threads. But I have some chatty people who are new to the internet. Yeah, Discord is another app another website. It's actually just an app. Uh, it's like a it's like a thread, a forum, kind of in the same way of Patreon. It's kind of like having your own website with a forum. Just another way that people can get the community can interact away from the channel itself. Not Patreon, no. It's a separate entity altogether. Discord was developed for MMOs like guilds. It was it was um, it was developed for like guild chat, uh, but outside the game. It's basically all it is guild chat forums outside the game, and this is the game effectively. I do the YouTube thing a little differently. Instead of Yeah, instead of doing the cross platform with TikTok and Instagram and focusing almost solely on the social media aspect of YouTube, I use the social media aspects of YouTube to push toward community building and higher performance art forms. I'm not there. That's why I say try. Right? There is no try. There is only do or do not, and so I have mostly not. But the effort is there. TikTok is a completely different world. I don't engage. I actually took TikTok off my phone because TikTok just became an excuse to look at softcore porn when I was bored. So TikTok is a totally different world, uh, much more lower brow. It doesn't really reach toward public education, which is really funny because all the commercials that they run are about public education, but those videos are few and far between. And everybody says this. I know that it's about how you cultivate your profile, your account, your experience. But I was deliberately not cultivating TikTok, and all it wanted to show me was softcore porn and infotainment masquerading as softcore porn. So, and then biblical scholarship, biblical studies that were just bad and wrong. A lot of creationism. So, no, thank you, not for me. I really don't have the time and shouldn't even try to make it to scroll to doom scroll because when I doom scroll it just gets me in my feelings and then I make shorts. Yeah, Twitter is almost entirely. It was sometime in 2024, maybe 2023. They took all of the restrictions and regulations off adult material on Twitter. Yeah, X, whatever. I don't call it X. Yeah, they took all those restrictions off, and so it's just became an explicit. Twitter has become an explicit dating site, and by that I mean a graphic nude dating site. It's become adult friend finder. I'm fine. As far as I know, I'm fine. Why, did something change since we started talking? I mean, I'm deeply unwell. I'm wildly insane, but I think I keep it together. I only embarrass myself a few times a day. Oh no, I probably farted. Which part is the flawed thinking? Gee, you gotta understand that you're minimum 5 seconds behind me. So you could be anywhere in this 3 hour video. You're gonna have to present a better argument. And if you're trying to present that argument in a language in which you're not fluent, please just do it to somebody else. I'm sure. You just got to be careful. My girlfriend will cut me. Yeah, well, I'm on my phone's data. My phone's about to die, and it's about to rain. So, understood. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Or just don't tell me about it. Yeah, when you're ready, take your time. Just come hang out, for sure. I'm not usually online this late, but the Discord's up. Eric's usually fucking yakking my ear off right now, so we're around. Agreed, Carl. Yeah, Carl's my girlfriend. No, Carl's not my girlfriend. But that was funny. I agree, though, Carl. The women keep insisting otherwise. So, I don't know what you want me to do, man. Heard that. Well, one way or the other, I am going to bed. I thought I was going to do a video tonight, but it's not tonight anymore. Yes, you as well. Thank you for the conversation, for the hang. Uh, the rest of you, thank you for hanging out. Um, I look forward to chit chatting with you next time or sometime in the future. Uh, I am trying to figure out how to extend these during the day to the Discord. I actually did have Rach and Eric on, doing a little bit of a chit chat in my ear while I was able to engage with the YouTube audience, and the YouTube audience could actually hear both sides of the conversation this time. So I'm getting better at reading your comments for the people, um, or at least summarizing what I'm reading for the people who are watching this back that don't know how to turn the live chat back on, and now the people who hang out with me in the Discord voice chat are audible on YouTube. So I am getting better at this thing. I'm learning. I'm trying to I'm trying to put together a comprehensive show that isn't just me looking at myself, reading people commenting about me in my chat, which is the only thing I can see or look at. So, I'm getting better, trying to put on a better show, trying to put on a better show. Um, Thank you for being here. We'll return to the Shaver Mysteries and I Dream of Lemuria tomorrow night, sometime after midnight Eastern Standard Time. But it won't be called Spoopyween. I think what I called it was Thanks Derping. So look for that, or don't. I don't really care. I hope you do, though. Look for that. Um, Give me reasons to have engaging cross chatter to distract me from hating this book. Until then. Actually, not even until then. Look for me in about fucking 9 hours.